Hello YouTube, I hope this finds everybody well. And in this video I want to talk about the losing of faith and trust in institutions and organizations. And I think it's becoming a more common of a thing. And I think in the last few years it's perhaps gotten worse. But this has been going on for quite some time. I remember years ago, I was in a barber shop and there was a couple guys in the chair, and this was of course a time when we would meet up in barber shops. Nowadays you have to call ahead or book appointments online now. Ever since the COVID thing, a lot of barber shops are sticking to that way of doing business. But I miss the days where we just all would meet in the barber shop and talk. And this one time, this gentleman was talking. He was recently retired, and he was talking about how him and his coworkers would get frustrated at work and how management didn't listen to the people on the factory floor whenever suggestions were being made, how to do things perhaps better, how to improve the company. He said that it fell on deaf ears. And he said, I was so glad to get out of there. And he was so glad that he was retired and enjoying his new chapter in his life. And I thought, how sad. And I think many people can relate to that. And I've heard that people don't really quit the job, they quit the people. They quit the management. They quit the bosses, is what people are leaving from. And recently I've listened to people, and they're saying similar things. And I wrote some things down. Places of work, for example, social workers. I've heard social workers and social worker aides saying how much it's changed in their profession and how they wouldn't want anybody to get into that line of work, and how much it's changed in their world. And I've even had someone tell me, Jim, you don't want to be a social worker. Same thing with education, teachers. I've heard people say, you couldn't pay me enough to be a teacher today. And you can hear it from teachers, and how the kids have changed in their behavior to where there's even violence in the classroom by a student hitting a teacher. How some teachers are frustrated with the current education system and how they feel their hands are tied behind their back and that they don't have control of their classroom and what they can teach. And the list goes on. And thank God that we still have people still wanting to be social workers and teachers. And then with, of course, the rash of the shootings in these schools. And there are teachers that are fearing that. Nursing. How many nurses have quit the profession with stress, and after the, I call the pandemic, burned out, and seeing how things operate in these hospitals and how they too bring something up and they're told to shut up and keep quiet from observing something. And so nurses are quitting. And not only that, even doctors, and how the doctors are now under pressure. They have to do a lot more documenting, so they're spending a lot of time. And some of you may have experienced it yourself as you go to the doctor's office. The doctor's spending more time on the computer typing up what you're saying than dealing with you directly as a patient, and how they are under pressure to keep it no more than 10 minutes with a patient, and then it's off to the next patient. Deal with the issue. They're taught to push a pill, push a prescription, and keep it moving. And that the healthcare system, I've even heard it called sick care. It's not healthcare. And that it's not about prevention. And the system is designed to keep us sick. And when you've got a sick person, you've got a customer. And that's what keeps that money rolling in. And I even remember overhearing a conversation with a retired doctor, and the person asked him, do you miss being a physician? And the doctor said, no, I don't miss working for the insurance companies. And how there's so much red tape now in healthcare, and when doctors want to order a test, an MRI, an X-ray, or whatever, they've got to jump through all these hoops to get it approved through insurance, and in order to just get a test done for somebody. And it's just a big nut roll where people are frustrated and they're done and leaving these institutions and the way that they're being treated. And I even heard it said that your fellow employees are not your friends. And I can so see that. When something goes wrong or goes bad in a workplace and in the environment, oftentimes you'll get thrown under the bus. Co-workers who you thought had your back, or maybe even been a working friend, turns out they weren't. People are losing faith and trust in these places. You can go right on down the list. People that work at a Dollar General, they work at a Walmart. Go right on down, and they will tell you firsthand accounts on what it's really like to work in these places. Even in EMS, I hear there's these, they have these dreams of saving life, and they do that on occasion, but oftentimes they're just going out on these runs, reviving the same person a couple times in that day from a drug overdose, or they see them multiple times in a week, that same person. Or they're going to these calls that are just silly, really not needed. And so you even hear EMS, EMTs, paramedics, they do it for a while and then they move on into something else in healthcare. It's just interesting hearing the real deal in what people do in their jobs. And what I've learned as I've gotten older, things aren't really what they're cracked up to be. Things aren't what they appear. Institutions. I touched on education with the teachers and the whole education system. And so you've got people who are getting out of the public education. You've got some people sending their kids to private school. The universities and colleges, it's mostly women who are attending them now. A lot of men are saying no to college, or even some women, but it's predominantly female students now. And a lot of people are wising up to the fact that perhaps higher institutions of learning are a scam. And what you're paying for college nowadays, and just the price of books, should be against the law. It's highway robbery what they're charging for this stuff. And so a lot of people are questioning, is it really worth it to go to these colleges and universities? And oftentimes the answer is no. Unless you're going into STEM, any of those types of professions, you can be a doctor or engineering, then yes, college would probably be a good thing for you, but other than that, it's really not worth it. And so you have the popularity of trades now, and people getting into the trades, and that's definitely some job security there when you can get into that and just name the trade, and they're looking for people, and sometimes they'll even will train you and pay for training. Government, if that's not a hot topic in this current climate. Government, Congress, the presidency, the current political scene, lack of trust in the voting process, and that's huge right now. And not being able to trust our leaders, and we're seeing the corruption. And of course, you can go back in time, and there's always been some type of corruption in politics going back. But we're so divided now, Republican, Democrat. It's just, I think a lot of people are getting tired of it, myself included. I'm an independent, so I'm not either party. But it's just a shame, and both sides are lying. You can't trust either party as far as I'm concerned. And then I've even heard, Jim, well, this one person said to me, I don't vote. He says, presidents are installed. And there's a quote, I forget who it was, who said that if voting mattered, then the system wouldn't allow us to do it. Isn't that interesting? And so that gives you something to ponder. Does our vote really count? Or is the gig up and it's already chosen already ahead of time on who the president's going to be? And that voting is just a feel-good thing to make us feel like we're involved in the current system. Sometimes I wonder. And then you'll hear in today's climate, too big to rig. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. And so, but I'm going to vote anyway. I will be out there myself doing early voting, even though I don't trust it either. Criminal justice system. Where do you begin with that? Can you trust the criminal justice system and how that whole system works, and how these attorneys and judges work together, and how they can get somebody off just by being clever, and the rules of the law and words, and if the glove don't fit, you must acquit kind of thing, and how somebody who does one crime gets 10 years to life, and then somebody who's just doing something of lesser has a more stiffer sentence. It doesn't make sense, the whole criminal justice system. So people are losing faith and trust in that, and loss of confidence. Churches, organized religion. People are losing faith in that. People just aren't going, myself included. I used to be a regular church I used to attend them regularly, and not anymore. Not anymore. And the divide and all the denominations, it is just so sad what's going on in the American churches and organized religion, and a lot of people are seeing it, and how a lot of them, 501c3 tax exempt, and a lot of these so-called pastors are nothing more than wolves in sheep's clothing. They're charlatans, and they take advantage of people and teach all this false gospel stuff, and they extract funds from people and guilt people, and it's a big money machine for them. And a lot of people just don't see it. And even to this day, you've got people writing their checks to these doggone crooks. But there are people that are wising up and saying enough of this doggone stuff, and they're just meeting in small groups, or they're just doing church at home. The heck with the brick and mortar building. Tech companies, things like, I call it Facebook, and how people are seeing how they're harvesting data and your privacy issues, and how they tailor ads to you, and are monitoring our behavior and modifying people's behavior. And so people are seeing that, and they're done with the social medias, and losing faith in that industry. Law enforcement, Secret Service, FBI's, those kinds of things. People are seeing that now. And as we saw that debacle with the assassination attempt with the Secret Service, what in the heck was that all about? You had every chance and warning of this guy, and that kid still managed to get a shot off. Unbelievable. I don't trust them. You think I trust the Secret Service with my life? Bruh. Mm-mm. And then you've got a lot of people now who are not getting into law enforcement. They don't want to be a police officer. And with all this defund the police and the negative light on law enforcement now. And yes, there are some bad apples, but by and large, a lot of those police officers are there because they want to serve their community and make a difference and serve like that. And it's just a shame. And then you have they got their own internal struggles and challenges, and things with each other within the organization. And then some of those guys, and they're walking out the door. To heck with this. And they're going off and doing other things. News, television. Yeah, television news and the newspapers. I quit getting my local newspaper because it was spun a certain way. And they have this agenda. And a lot of these news outlets do. And I think people are catching on to that, and the way that they spin things, and the way they twist things and contort things. And you'll hear the comment, fake news. Yeah, they are fake news. The way they spin something to push a certain agenda, and it's so blatant, even Stevie Wonder could see it. Absolutely a shame what's going on. And so I don't put a lot of stock in it. I may listen to a few of them and then read between the lines, but I'll tell you what, man, the local news now is just absolutely terrible. Awful. Food system, pharmaceutical industry. Yeah. I think a lot of people are starting to see how the food industry is tailored to keep us buying more, and they're very addictive. The ultra-processed foods making us sick, and you can see that. Just recently, I was at a grocery store, and I saw the children. Some of the kids are they are obese children already at such a young age. Already, they're starting out in life being heavy like that. And you know doggone well, they're probably already showing signs of fatty liver, adult onset diabetes. They probably have some form of cardiovascular atherosclerosis already showing and developing in their little bodies already. And then I look at the food in the grocery cart of the parents, and I'm thinking, yeah, there it is right there. That's what's supersizing our children. And it's just a crying shame to see it. And then the pharmaceutical industry. Everything is the pushing of a pill, brought to you in part and sponsored by Pfizer, things like that. And it's just big business and pushing pills from an early age. They want to push them on our children. Now you've got this weight loss pill. What is it, Ozempic or something like that? I mean, it's just crazy, man. and what's being propagated, and what we're seeing is that it's greed. It's greed. It's what did I hear? Profits over people. Profits over people. Yep, greed. These doggone systems and organizations, man, they don't care about you, and they don't care about me. All they care about is what they're making. That's what they care about. And then remember that shot that they were pushing not long ago, and how that's divided us. What a shame how divided we are, and the misinformation. And then we're pointing fingers at each other. You had some people that were lining up like cattle, raising their arms to get that poke. And then some people started to see how that was pushed out in such a hurry, and started to question it and said, no, I don't want to get it. But then people who decided not to get it for their own personal choices was looked at in a negative way. And I'm like, who cares? Why do you care what somebody's putting in their body? You know, and then a lot of these folks want to scream, my body, my choice. Well, but what about his or her body, my choice? My body, my choice too. I choose not to get that thing. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And how you're hated, and people just turn absolutely like the devil's got a hold of them or something, because you've made a decision and thought for yourself not to do something that you thought was best for you. Unbelievable. Aviation. Aviation crashes. What are you talking about, Jim? Remember that Boeing 737 Supermax plane? You had 2 crashes, killed a lot of people. And it turned out it was they call it the MCAS system. It was a stabilization system that controlled that plane. And earlier on, there were people that warned against that thing, that they were having issues with that, and that it would the rear stabilizer in the back of the plane, that it wanted to push the nose down on the plane on its own, and that system needed to be fixed. But yet Boeing continued to push that plane, knowing darn well that there was issues with that stabilization system in that plane, and it killed all those people. 2 planes went down. And again, there was greed again over safety in that situation. Greed over the safety. And then after that, I think it was in Alaska, same thing, a Boeing 737 MAX airplane, and the doggone door blew off in flight. And then they were under a depressurization situation, and thankfully the pilots landed that plane. So can you trust Boeing? So if I see a Boeing airplane, I'm thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to take the bus. I don't trust you. The military, the world that I came from, Veterans Administration, people aren't joining. People aren't joining like they used to. Yes, some people that are still joining, but they're seeing the military-industrial complex and the big war machine. As General Smedley Butler, World War I veteran, anti-war activist back in the day, wrote a book, War is a Racket. War is a racket, and boy is it. And what a shame. And then all that money that we spent in Afghanistan, and that botched withdrawal, all the equipment we left behind, people are seeing it, and they're not going to go risk their life and be a part of something like that. And so maybe we should have realized that after the Vietnam War, but yet time went on. We seem to have forgotten it. And then I ended up joining the military myself, and I tell you, if I had it all over to do again, I probably would not have. But I still got a lot from the military. It made me who I was. And And so I'm thankful in many ways for the military and what I was able to accomplish, and to set myself up for the rest of my life to be able to sit out here on days like today and talk to you stress-free. So I'm thankful for that. And I survived it all, thank the Lord. And I still got my limbs and mind. But people are seeing it. And with all the politics now and the woke stuff going on, and it just seems like it's not about getting folks in to train them and get them prepared and trained and equipped to fight America's wars. It seems like the priority's on other things now. Family court system and the way we do marriage in the United States. People aren't trusting that system and losing confidence in that, and how men can lose a lot. A woman can easily say, I'm not happy, and then that man's going to lose very much. He could very well lose his house, lose half of his assets, paying out the wazoo alimony, child support, and then paying the crooked attorneys, and how they find out how much money you have, and then the attorneys then figure out how to draw out this divorce. Sometimes they last 2 and 3 years just to keep sucking that money out of you and keep this thing going, and then submit another piece of paper, and a person has to take off work to go submit a piece of paper, and then that piece of paper is going to have to cost him $350 an hour that he's got to pay to the attorney. And it is a sad, sad system and corrupt family court system. My humble opinion, I can't even believe people still get married in the United States, and in my humble opinion, you're putting your stamp of approval on the current system. And I think men need to hold the line. Don't even be getting married. In today's modern day, I don't recommend any young man to get married today. No. And until they change those doggone laws and the family court system and fix that doggone crap, nobody should be getting married, in my humble opinion. Especially now. No way. Insurance companies. I've never filed it. I'm trying to think, have I ever filed a vehicle claim? Never. I've never filed a claim for my home. And what are the rates doing? Going up. And then talk to anybody who works for an insurance company, and they'll tell you it's a big freaking scam. And then when you do need the insurance, they're not going to pay you. Or, well, it's not covered in your policy. Things like that. And then you pay all those years into that. And they took all your money. And then the time when you need it, oh yeah, crickets. Suckers. I can keep going. Electric cars, pushing all that agenda. Do you want an electric car? I guess some of you do. Hey, my hat goes off to you. They can't get rid of them. You got lots full of those electric cars. They can't get rid of them. And now they've got these deals now where you can rent them for $20 a month. I don't want a doggone electric car. Until they fix that doggone thing, I don't want to. I'll keep my doggone truck. Get out of here with that. Financial management, financial managers. You know, you got these financial institutions, you can name them, and you can't trust them. Oh, we're a fiduciary. We're looking out for you, and we're going to make sure that we'll manage your money well to have you can make the most out of your retirement and investments and all this and that. A lot of times they don't. And my thing is, be your own financial manager. There's too many tools out there, online tools and books. You can manage your own finances and invest and do all that on your own. You don't need to pay somebody to do it. So anyway, that's just some of it. That's just some of it that I can think of. And I'm sure a lot of you out there can think of things too where you've lost faith and trust and confidence in things. And I know it's just not me, but for the last few years, to me, it just seems like it's just gone. It just keeps increasing. to where I'm like, I don't trust anything, anyone, any organization, and I'm just everything I now have to question and take a step back and say, all right, what's the angle here? What's the deal here? What kind of backdoor shady thing's going to go on here now? Why this? Why that? And and then you start doing some digging and research, and then you find out people've got their own personal agendas for the reasons why they're doing what they're doing. And then we wonder why some people are just staying to themselves and backing out of the current system right now and doing their own thing. And people are getting tired of the politics, the wokeness, the bureaucracy, red tape, drama, chaos, all of it. And a lot of people are stuck in a lot of these institutions because they have no other options. They have to work there to be able to pay the bills, which is understandable. But some people are deciding to go and do other things and make livings other ways, and just pulling out of this current corrupt system and society that's in terrible moral decay, loss of decency on every front. And it's just an absolute shame what we have going on in this country. And it just seems to me that it's getting worse by the day. And we're at each other. And God forbid you have your own opinions and thoughts and ideas, and then you're looked at in a negative light. And it's a shame. It's an absolute shame. And so I just wanted to talk about that. Perhaps there's others out there feeling the same thing. Know that you're not alone, man. And, well, what do, Jim? Well, we just keep on going. We just do what we do. We just have to adjust to the current situation in the current times. That's all we have to do. And try to figure out what's going to be the best way to navigate this current system as it stands now. And don't take any crap from anyone, and push back and say that's enough. And I'm glad that we are. And I'm glad that we do have, one good thing about social media is a lot of this stuff is getting out now. People are getting educated now, and they're seeing what's going on behind the scenes, getting a peek behind the curtain on what's really going on. And then people are waking up to it. And we are being very disappointed. I know I am disappointed every time I turn around. It's like, dang, I've lost faith and confidence in that institution. I've lost faith and trust in that person or that organization. But I've often been told, well, I've heard, I should say, that there's a difference between being disappointed and being discouraged. That we we can be disappointed, but try not to get discouraged. So I try to remember that. Jim, don't get discouraged. Yeah, you're disappointed in it. I'm disappointed in a lot, but don't get discouraged. And just keep on going and doing the best you can. So that is it. Thanks for listening. Take what you can take out of that, and keep going. And don't let the, what does it say? Don't let the man get you down.